I picked up the Sony A6400 on its launch day in February, and since I've had it, I've been pretty impressed. Sony gives you an amazing camera that to me is not considered entry level at all. Today we're going to talk about the new Sony A6400 and my initial first impressions of this camera. What's up YouTube? Welcome back to another video. If you're new passing through, my name is Justin and my channel is all about filmmaking tips, tutorials, and product reviews. So if you're into that kind of stuff, consider hitting that red subscribe button. And now let's talk about the Sony A6400. So first, I'd like to mention I am a huge Sony fanboy. So anything that I say that I dislike about the camera doesn't mean that it's a bad camera or something you shouldn't go out and get. It's just, to me, I'm used to a certain system, and after using the 6400 for about 10 days, I noticed a few things that I wish were there that aren't. So that being said, this won't be a full in-depth review, but more or less to point out some of the things that I noticed right off the bat with this camera. I will do a full detailed review of this camera coming soon. So let's kick things off and talk about the design. One thing that I love about Sony is they don't typically switch up a lot about the design too much, meaning it's very easy to go from model to model and pretty much know how to navigate the menu and custom button layout. So the top of the camera has your hot shoe mount, flash, mode dial, aperture wheel, and C1 custom function button. On the left, you'll find the micro USB and HDMI ports, as well as a mic input. The back, you'll find the flip-up LCD touchscreen display, flash and menu buttons, focus lock, function button, display shooting mode, and ISO buttons on the wheel that you use to navigate the menus, the play button and delete button that doubles as a custom function too. And the bottom, you'll find the battery and SD card slot. Overall, it looks and feels great and has a pretty solid build. It honestly looks just like the A6500, which is now the 6400's baby big brother, I guess you could say. Now, looking at the two cameras, one thing I disliked from the beginning was the fact that the 6400 only had one custom function button at the top. I own the 6500 and the A7S II, and both have two custom function buttons at the top. And it may sound like I'm nitpicking, but once you map custom function buttons into your run and gun flow, the absence or relocation of one just messes everything up. The 6400 only gives you two, and Sony, why couldn't I have the second one? The 6500 is in the same body. Why couldn't I just have both of them sitting right up there at the top? Another thing that I hated right off the top was the mode dial. It has a memory recall slot and not an individual 1 and 2. Again, this may sound nitpicky, but what this is the 1 and 2 of the 6500 can be completely customized to just about whatever you want. You can set the mode to be 4K, 24 frames a second, 1/60th of a shutter, set your picture profile and your white balance, and then just flip the switch to the number 2, and now all of a sudden you got that customized for 1080, 120p with a whole different shooting mode, and then just flip back and forth between the two and you're ready to go basically. The camera can be programmed and make all of those changes by just flipping to one of those numbers. This makes run and gun so much easier, so much faster, because I can go from 4K recording straight to 1080p buttery smooth slow-mo and then go right back to 4K, and all my settings are automatically adjusted from the shutter and aperture automatically just dialed in for me. The 6400 gives you a memory recall, which is basically the same thing, but you have to switch out of it and switch back into it to select a different memory mode. You could also set one of your only two custom function buttons to be used to open the memory recall menu, but then you lose the ability of mapping that custom function button to do something else that you would really want it to do, like white balance or picture profiles. One thing that I do love is the custom menu. You can basically create your own menu with settings you typically use often, like file format, audio record level for external mics, picture profiles, or anything you actually use. This kind of makes me forgive Sony a little bit for not giving me custom shooting modes on the mode dial, mainly because I can access all of my changes faster in a custom menu. The flip up screen is perfect for vloggers, and by now I'm sure you saw it that it flips up, preventing you from basically using the hot shoe mount unless you spend $20 on an adapter. Not a big deal to me because I don't vlog, but again, $20 problem solved. Another thing about the screen is that it's really only touchscreen for pulling focus. It doesn't allow you to use a touchscreen in the menus, which again doesn't really matter to me. I just felt like that was worth mentioning to you. The 6400 uses Sony old FW50 batteries, which if you already know about these, they don't really last that long. However, it has a really good sleep mode that basically cuts the camera off when it's in idle for longer than a minute. Quick press of the shutter button and boom, you're back to recording, back ready to roll. My favorite and probably one of the main reasons I wanted this camera was for the HLG color science and eye autofocus. Worrying about if something is in focus or not is a thing of the past. Camera manufacturers are really starting to nail the AF game, autofocus game. But this wraps up my first impressions of the 6400. I'm very excited to be able to go out and shoot with that HLG color science and that incredibly fast A7 III autofocus system. I'm honestly shocked that you get all of that in a camera body that costs less than $1,000. Stay tuned, I'll have some really good B-roll and really good cinematic sequences coming from this camera. But in the meantime, if you have any questions or things you want me to actually test in the actual review, drop it down below in the comment section. And if you're new here, again, be sure to subscribe. And that's it, I will see y'all in the next video. Peace!